Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, everybody, for coming. It's great to have this event organised. It's been 2 years in the making, really, thinking about having to bring people together to learn about what market access is and defining it. I'm very glad to have people from all over the world here, from America, from Belgium, from Holland. It's great. So thank you so much, all of you, for coming. This is about a national market access approach to accelerated adoption of technologies in the NHS. It's really focusing on a better way of doing business in the NHS, a better way of getting great technologies to patients faster. And that's sort of why we're all here. And that's really important that we focus on, what we're here for. A lot of us developing products for helping patients live better lives, live longer, and it's been a pleasure for the last 30 years to be involved in this industry. So, understanding the NHS. NHS is focused on efficiently providing the best patient care, and it's value for money and not necessary cost. And why value? Well, we know the pressures on the NHS. We know, for example, that in 2014 the NHS were told to build 22 800-bedded hospitals, and they haven't started building hospitals yet, but they're pumping lots of cash in, and many people in the room in medtech want to get their hands on the cash, and maybe this can give you some ideas as to how best to play a better role in getting technologies to patients faster. So when you think about who is there to support NHS England, to effectively deliver best patient care, it's NICE. And many medtech companies don't engage with NICE and should do, particularly if they've got great products. And to do that, you need to follow some rules and gather the right evidence. But that should always be the focus, I believe, for companies to get the recommendation from NICE. We'll go through this in a bit more detail. But NICE's role about the recommendations about the use of new medicines, medical technologies and diagnostics are also to identify the most clinically and cost-effective treatments available. NICE run many programmes. Have the pleasure of having Tom Classon-Brock, who's the chair of the interventional procedures part of NICE, is actually with us today and will be presenting later. But NICE runs several different programmes. We can talk about them. Maybe there's enough time here. But each one looks at things in different ways. The part that Tom's responsible for is the part of NICE that looks at new treatments and new ways of doing things that are invasive. But other programmes look at early stage innovation. They look at technologies that are cost saving, cost neutral. There's diagnostic programmes, technology appraisal, and the clinical guidelines. So how does funding work in the NHS? Well, for many of you that don't know, we pay lots of tax, and that's sort of fed down the line through the Department of Health to NHS England, to the clinical commissioning groups and to the hospitals. And many people aren't aware of that, but there is an arrangement between the hospital and the commissioner to pay for activity. And NICE's role is to provide guidance to all the different areas of of these bodies, and is very powerful in influencing, Parliament, Department of Health, NHS England, the payers and the hospitals. So how do we effectively access the market? And this is where I just want to make a point, really. For many years, and it continues to this day, I can guarantee it's going on down the road in Southampton Hospital today, is that salespeople descend on hospitals, talk to doctors, and sometimes the relationship starts with a conversation with a salesperson trying to sell a new piece of technology to a doctor. The doctor thinks it's a nice idea, tells the person to talk to the operating theatre manager, who says, yeah, he likes his new toys. How much are they? They come in a box of 10. Yeah, sounds all right. Go and talk to Sid in procurement. The salesperson goes to talk to the procurement department and meets with somebody that buys traffic cones, scones and cornflakes. And the conversation ends there. It's too expensive. Well, it is if you just bought some cornflakes. And after 4.6 years and $30 million on average of investment and time, that's where it all ends. And it's just disastrous. The principles used are the principles of marketing, which were invented in the 1960s. Marketing is product, price, place, promotion. If you had a new dog food for Chihuahuas, you'd go to the head office of Waitrose, you'd design it, you'd price it up and put a margin on it and try and sell it. And in medtech world, it doesn't even happen centrally like that. We have lots of salespeople running around hospitals trying to sell products, meeting with procurement people without demonstrating value. And I think that what I've learned, having worked with hundreds of companies, taken 32 devices through NICE, is, and part of the reason for the course today is, what are these principles? What is market access? What is this thing called market access? How is it different to marketing? It contains 4 Ps, and those 4 Ps are demonstrating patient benefit, demonstrating the benefit to the provider of care, the hospital. How does the hospital benefit from using the technology? How does the payer benefit? The CCGs that pay the hospital to treat the patients, how do they benefit from using the technology? And finally, and this should be for many of the meta companies here, thinking about the benefit for the products. You know, what you're here to do is make profit and run a successful business. So those benefits are around optimizing your price, but maximizing the access of the technology to the most appropriate patients. And they are the 4 Ps of market access. And I'd love somebody to challenge me on this, but people, I think, are getting this now, and these are the rules you should think about as early as possible. When you're designing products, think about how you can sell the product for the most you can, whilst making sure you benefit payers, providers, and above all, patients. So when we talk about this activity, at the moment we have salespeople running around hospitals down the bottom here, talking to hospitals, and sometimes if they have enough information, they're able to talk to the payers, the CCGs. When we have national market access, which is where we encourage companies to go through NICE, and NICE to provide guidance to all these people, it makes life a lot easier. Because with local market access, you have to run around all these hospitals, look for case for change or business cases, and engage with all of these hospitals to try and get your product into them. When you look at a national market access approach, then you're using NICE to tell these bodies, on top of the fact that you're using your sales team to run around and support that messaging from NICE to try and get your product adopted. The benefit of using NICE is that it can open up other options that you hear about recently, about specialist reimbursement programs and exclusion lists, which we can go into more detail on a one-on-one. But NICE does give you the option to find additional funding. So with national market access, product adoption is achieved as NICE have done the work for you. They've shown that the product is good for payers, providers, and patients, and it makes life a lot easier when you go into those hospitals, because the value of the product and the need for change is justified by NICE. They've actually validated it, and the salespeople can go into the hospitals and talk to the business managers, and it's this sort of approach that I believe is the fastest way of getting great technologies to patients faster. Here's an example of what we've done just last year with a technology for treating benign prostatic hyperplasia with steam. And the benefit, of course, is that you get patient awareness and patients asking doctors for these technologies. We have the pleasure of having Amanda Hayhurst here, who's good friends with Fergus Walsh and works in media, and that the power of media and the power of patients asking for technologies actually helps to drive the adoption forward as well. Amanda's done some amazing work, and she's here now, and I think she's doing a little talk before lunch, or after lunch, isn't it? So she can show some examples. So how do you implement a national market access strategy? What do NICE want? 3 things. They want clinical and economic evidence, they want physician feedback and clinical use, and they need the patients to say it's a good idea. Particularly the patient groups and charities are very powerful. The thing that does happen without that in mind is many companies run around with new products, meeting doctors that are always interested in doing research, because research is easy to do. We have fantastic collaboration with the NIHR, even on a local basis. It's very simple for hospitals to do research and do studies, but many of them forget that you need to capture the economic benefits of the technology, and many doctors don't actually know what NICE will be looking for in terms of evidence, both economic and clinical. So worth really thinking about your strategy there. So gaining NICE recommendation changes your conversation with the NHS. It helps you to get technologies to patients faster, and we've seen it with many technologies over the last 10 years that we've helped to get into the NHS. Some have been in the news recently: the Steam Prostate, Theresa May's diabetic patch, and other technologies. And at Device Access, we have a great team of people to help support you through that process, as well as external people like Amanda that can help to get things into the press. But Thank you once again for coming today. We're here all day. Please come and talk to us if you want to find out more, and I hope you enjoy the rest of today's presentations. Thank you.